My name is Ellen Patterson. I am Australian. I am a milliner, which is a hat maker. I also DJ, I write poetry. I am an artiste, hi-hat artist. Before moving to Saudi, my expectations were not to hold too many because, you know, for me, the move to Saudi was a big leap into the unknown. You know, this is a place to discover, and I knew that everything that I was going to discover here would be true discovery. Because as an Australian, I don't really know much at all about Saudi, and only the few times I'd hear about it, it would be one of these manipulated Western media, you know, something like this image. And I come from a media background, so I'm well aware of how things can be taken out of context. So for me, my expectation was, I guess, I knew it would be a leap into the unknown. My opinion about Saudi and the culture, I mean, look, for starters, the Saudis are so welcoming. Welcoming. I feel this from every person I meet. I mean, even when I first, just these first instances being on the street and so many people, where are you from? Welcome, welcome to the kingdom. It was, you know, I live in a kingdom now. And the hospitality and generosity is, I mean, this is just, it's beautiful. Everyone wants to just, you know, make your experience special here as an expat. I really feel that. I really love, you know, this exposure and everything I'm learning about Saudi heritage and culture, the different regions, you know, the way that people would dress in the different regions, especially back in the day. I love history, and the history here is so rich, and it goes back thousands of years. Riyadh for me is full of surprises, honestly. You know, as a stranger, you could just be driving down the street and you look and you see there's all these walls, right? Because the privacy is this is a number one. But the aim of the game is to get invited onto the other side of the walls. And this is where the discovery begins. Well, just recently, my husband and I, we visited this beautiful heritage and cultural fair, and it was for Saudi Founding Day. And this was such a beautiful thing because it highlighted the different regions of the nation and brought together, you know, craftsmen from those regions. We met one man he makes furniture, everything for your house, out of the frond, from the date palm frond. So ingenious, he holds it with his feet, and then he has these blades, and this guy, he was such a master. And you know, I got to buy a small little table from him, and just the experience of meeting true Arabs who are showcasing their art and what they do. In Saudi, in our free time, my husband and I, we love to get outdoors and just be in nature, get into the desert, you know. We go camping, we go four-wheel driving, take lots of food, have a fire, and to be in this natural environment, it's so enriching for me. I love it because it's the opposite of the environment that I grew up in, which is this kind of lush rainforest valley, and also near the beach, but you know, here I have these beautiful desert dunes, which just like the lines that are created by the wind in the dunes, it's so inspiring. It's beautiful. I always want to paint it whenever I see it. Socializing in Riyadh, again, this has been a big surprise for me because basically nobody stops 24/7. People are always partying and socializing, and so long as you have a friend of a friend to have this introduction, then your network of friends just unfolds, you know, it unravels like a ball of wool. And I'm so fortunate that this has been the case for me because of a friend of mine who I was living in Dubai with her, but she grew up here in Riyadh. She's since moved home, and because of her, you know, I've met one person who then you meet more, and it just grows and grows. What I find most interesting about the nightlife in Riyadh is how it has developed. My experience meeting the people of Saudi, I have been so struck by their generosity and hospitality. You know, I was returning to Australia last year and I was thinking I really want to take a gift for family and friends and something that is symbolic of the kingdom. I mean, dates, that was my number one, but I can't take them to Australia because they have a seed and border security and it's an island, yada yada. But I figured out that I could take date syrup, and I saw online, I came across Riyadh Date Factory. So I called them up and explained I want to take gifts, and I think gift was the trigger word for them. And within half an hour, I had a call from a man, Madam, Riyadh Date Factory, send location. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on? And so anyway, I send him my location. He arrives and he has like some tahini, he has date syrup, but I mean, I only wanted like, I don't know, 8 or something. And he gave me a little, you know, cardboard box of each. And when I tried to pay him with my wallet, he's like, gift from Saudi Arabia. I mean, I went to Australia and I told that story to all my friends and family, and they, you know, what a beautiful thing to share, and to just, that really shows the generosity of the people. In terms of Saudi food, my husband and I went to a lovely restaurant, and it highlights the cuisine from different regions. This was a beautiful experience, and also, you know, it's a contemporary version which is meeting a traditional, you know, going like we're here, forward in time, back in time. Oh. But what do I love with the food? Falafel. I love falafel. It's very dominated by meat and bread, I've got to say. The bread is out of control. Even whenever we order falafel takeaway, it always comes with this massive bag of bread, which we never end up getting through. My favourite bread though is the Saj. You know, this thin, oh, that is amazing. I love making my own little pizzas at home. Super, super thin ingredients. The Arabic coffee, for me, it's the marriage with the date. You know, you can't just have Arabic coffee on its own. With the date, it is the perfect match. A sukari date. That would be my ultimate. And you know how I love my dainty things as I'm a hat maker, so I do love the act of you get the little cup and the date. But also, the coffee culture here in terms of espresso coffee, that's probably what I'm most impressed by with my just discovering Saudi, because look, my husband and I, we are coffee fanatics. We're crazy, we love it. In Australia, there is a very high standard of coffee, espresso coffee I'm talking about here. And coming to Riyadh, we've found coffee, which, you know, it's on that same level, which we struggle in Europe. It's not always good in Europe. It can be a gamble. But here in Riyadh, yeah, there's people who are taking coffee seriously. They're roasting their own beans, they're measuring, they're weighing. They are doing a top job. Life is about discovering what it truly is that you're passionate about. And I studied journalism because, you know, I'm gifted at writing, and that's what a lot of high school kids chose when they were, you know, got into university and they're good writers. My fascination and adoration with hats, it was growing and growing and growing. And finally, I came to this realization of what it is that I want to do, who I am and what I want to be, which is a milliner, a hat maker. When my husband had an opportunity to move to Dubai for his career, I was like, well, you know, this actually enables me to start following my dreams and actually be on that path. So I'm so privileged that I have a partner who can support me in making that transition. I'm so grateful for that. And moving to the Middle East has been the turning point for me following my artistic dreams. And obviously it comes with a lot of challenges because I'm teaching myself a craft without a mentor. I mean, I'm experimenting and basically teaching myself. So this comes with the discovery of something that you would not actually achieve from following an instruction book. This is where magic happens. And with DJing, my life has been slowly getting to this point because I've been collecting music my whole life. I learnt piano from the age of 5, and my parents were heavily into the new wave post-punk scene. You know, they were always seeing bands like 3 times a week before my brother and I were born. My dad played bass guitar in a band, so their record collection at home, I was listening to David Bowie, The Cure, Prince, like just good music. And this has influenced me, and then my own passion and interest leads me to discover more genres of music, and like disco and then Afro boogie, and just I love, you know, bits and pieces from all over the place, and then I unite it all and marry it together. And this is what I love to do in my DJ sets. So it's not just one thing all the same, you know, it's variety. So it's actually a journey then, musical journey. millinery studio this morning. First, I was demonstrating how to block a straw cap line over a wooden hat block, and this is the beginning of making a hat. And the straw cap line that I used, you'll see that it doesn't really have any shape, and that's how all hats start. And you need to give them the shape with the wooden blocks. Some hats without blocks, but what I was demonstrating was with the wooden block. I needed to wet the straw, because once I put water from a spray bottle and also steam from the iron, and you need the heat, moisture, and then movement, and that's when you can start manipulating that basic shape. And I stretched it over the wooden block, held it down with elastic, put some pins in to hold the position, and then left it there in the sun to start drying. And I had another button block hat, so a little small beret shape in like a similar straw, which I'd actually blocked that a few days ago and left it to dry so I could unpin all of the tacks, and then you could see that once I removed the wooden block, the shape there was being held. But this is the beginning of a hat. So I then would need to put wire, and then to hold the shape, put stiffener, and then you can start decorating it. What? Now also, I went through a couple of options of just funky, cool ways that you can accessorize your hats. And these were, first there was a beautiful, like a powder blue fedora felt hat, which it's a new one that I'm working on. And had a men's tie, a silk tie, holding it around here on the crown. I had a beautiful velvet ribbon, which was like rusted burgundy, I would call that tone, around the center. Another fluffy pom-pom, and there was another straw hat I showed how to embellish with like a spiky black biot feather. And also there were just all of my feathers and things that I hand dye these myself, creating a bespoke color which has a gradient. You've got light and dark, and then I'm also curling the feathers, giving them personality so it's not this rigid object. You kind of need surgeon hands in order to do these tasks, because otherwise you're going to end up with a hack job. But I've always been extremely good at doing meticulous things with my hands, even when I was a kid. So this is who I am. I'm a hat maker. I'm meant to do this. Well, firstly, I should ask you, what kind of hat is the occasion for? Is it for a wedding? I had a call this morning from a future client who has commissioned me to do a hat for them. So we were discussing, what kind of purpose do you want the hat for? Is it for a cocktail event? Is it for a wedding? Is it for something more practical where you're going out into the desert and you need shade to be protected? Because, hats have so many uses. They can be, mine right now is purely for decoration and aesthetic, but they could be for uniform. There's so many different occasions one might want a hat. Shukran. And then my dear friend Lasanthi came over. We made some breakfast, which, avocado on toast. This is a typical Australian breakfast. Australians are obsessed with avocado on toast. For me, I like to zhuzh it up with the balsamic glaze. So yes, Lasanthi and we ate, and then the yoga instructor arrived, who guided us through a beautiful yoga meditation session this morning, putting us in the Zen zone. I played some music with Lasanthi on my DJ decks. We had, the two of us had a little dance, you know, just listening to some funky disco music. And then Lasanthi and we headed to the zone, you know, just to go and have a walk around, look at some shops, take in the fresh air, grab a coffee, enjoy our day. To all of my cherished family and friends in Australia, oh, I love you so dearly, and I send you the warmest hug from the desert of Saudi Arabia. Yallah! Come and visit me here in this beautiful kingdom.